China's housing market collapses, 300 billion yen rescue effort. CCP pushes government to buy homes to reduce inventory. Where will the funds come from? Post-2000 generation prefer food delivery to factory work, impacting CCP's manufacturing sector. Outbreak of avian influenza in Shanghai, China raises concerns. Successive earthquakes in Shanxi and Xinjiang, noticeable tremors felt in Beijing. Tesla plans to build data center in China to develop fully autonomous driving system. It's all covered in today's China Truths. China's housing market collapses, 300 billion yen rescue effort. The collapse of China's real estate market is the first domino to fall, with a series of disasters gradually unfolding. Fortune magazine reported on May 17 that China's real estate sector has experienced significant job losses, with survivors facing salary cuts of up to 90%. Fortune interviewed Ivy Zhang, a senior real estate broker and sales champion at the company, who has sold properties worth approximately $140 million for Country Garden, earning an annual salary of about $83,000. However, since the Evergrande crisis exposed the real estate bubble burst, Ivy has found herself in financial difficulty. She now earns money by selling health products and has been forced to postpone her plans to have children. Charlie Zeng, who worked at Vank Real Estate, once earned over $250,000 a year during the good times. With the collapse of the housing market, Charlie became unemployed. He spent a year job hunting, voluntarily accepting a 90% pay cut at his most desperate, and finally landed a job after 70 interviews. Charlie said, "This industry has no future, it has been abandoned." However, analysts believe that the bottom has not yet been reached. Data from Bloomberg Economics shows that by 2026, the real estate sector's share of China's GDP might shrink to around 16%, with possibly another 5 million people facing unemployment or reduced income. Fortune quoted in Stevenson Yang, co-founder of J Capital Research, who said, "People are very depressed and fearful, and the situation is very severe." As the housing market collapse drags down China's economy, the CCP has introduced rescue measures. On May 17, the central bank announced that it would set up a 300 billion yuan affordable, about $42.3 billion, housing reloan to support state-owned enterprises in acquiring housing from real estate companies as affordable housing. This is what has been rumored for some time. Local state-owned enterprises will come forward to purchase backlogged houses from troubled real estate companies with loans provided by state-owned banks to alleviate the real estate crisis. Netizens questioned, the government is renting out inventory housing? But with such a high unemployment rate, who would rent? Independent commentator Kai Shinkoan analyzed on social media that this policy marks the end of the 10-year policy of housing is for living, not for speculation. If the authorities do not save the real estate sector, the next disaster will erupt from the banks. Despite the apparent strength of China's banks today, the ongoing issues in real estate could cause the banking sector to collapse. The Xi administration's move to save real estate is to save the banks and themselves. And this is another opportunity for the CCP's powerful people to acquire and store huge amounts of real estate. How to price and pay for it? The tricks and rent-seeking costs inside are enough to make many people rich overnight. Commentator Kunlun stated that the CCP government personally stepping in as landlords to participate in the defense of the housing market is globally rare. Saving the housing market is akin to saving the central government. With the government becoming landlords, what changes will occur in China's housing market? Kunlun lists 4 points. First, the rental market will be completely dominated by the government, suppressing public and market rentals. Second, China's housing market will return to a planned mode, akin to the era before commodity housing emerged in the 1980s. Third, young people will completely disengage, no longer being the target of China's housing market, which will now cater to government needs. Fourth, if you have substantial savings in the bank, it is suggested that you keep it for yourself rather than lending it to the bank. CCP pushes government to buy homes to reduce inventory. Where will the funds come from? On May 17, CCP Vice Premier He Feng announced at the National Conference on Ensuring Delivery of Homes that cities with a surplus of commercial housing inventory are urged to purchase some unsold properties at reasonable prices to stabilize housing prices. He Feng said these houses will be used as affordable housing, but did not provide a timetable or target for the purchases, nor detailed information about the funding source. The government buying homes to reduce inventory policy is considered the boldest move by the CCP to rescue the housing market. Recently, the Hangzhou municipal government announced that it would buy apartments at market prices in Linan District for public rental, seen as Beijing's first shot at buying homes to reduce inventory. Regarding the CCP's policy of the government buying homes to reduce inventory, how to solve the problem of huge funds is a widely concerned issue. On the afternoon of May 17, the CCP's State Council press office held a routine press conference, where CCP Central Bank Deputy Governor Tao Ling announced that city governments have designated local state-owned enterprises as the main buyers. The central bank has set up 300 billion yuan, about $42.3 billion, of secured housing reloans to support local state-owned enterprises in buying homes. The central bank also announced the cancellation of the lower limit on mortgage rates, reducing the down payment ratio to 15% and lowering the Provident Fund loan rate. However, the central bank's 300 billion yuan, about $42.3 billion, is only a drop in the bucket for the funding gap in government home purchases. According to estimates by Tianfeng Securities, if the authorities require the inventory digestion cycle to be compressed to within 18 months, it will need to shorten the destocking cycle by 7.4 months, corresponding to the digestion of over 700 million square meters of inventory, estimated to require about 7 trillion yuan, about $1 trillion, of funds. The Ministry of Finance announced in February that China's national fiscal revenue in 2023 was 21.6 trillion yuan, about $3.05 trillion. At the same time, the current local government debt of the CCP is around $9 trillion. Regarding the huge funds needed to rescue the housing market, Wang Guochen, an assistant researcher at the China Economic Research Institute, said, "Of course, it relies on printing money. What else can be done? In the end, these funds are paid by banks, so, as long as there is no large-scale bank run, then the temporary situation can be suppressed." He said, "The Beijing authorities greatly underestimated the decline of the real estate market. To really solve it, local governments should buy it, and the central government should allow local governments to issue an extra special national bond, special local bonds, or the central government itself issue special national bonds, then give them to local governments to deal with. It can be expected that if it really realizes the seriousness of the problem, subsequent special bonds will continue to be added." Previously, on May 13, the CCP State Council held a video conference to deploy and mobilize for the upcoming issuance of super long-term special bonds, involving terms of 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. In March, the CCP's government work report announced that it plans to issue super long-term special bonds for several years starting this year, with an initial issuance of 1 trillion yuan, about $140 billion, this year, included in the government fund budget, not counted in the deficit. Post-2000 generation prefer food delivery to factory work, impacting CCP's manufacturing sector. In recent years, the reluctance of young people to work in factories has become increasingly apparent in China's job market. Due to the demanding nature of factory work, low salaries, and lack of prospects, some post-2000s individuals, those born after 2000, would rather deliver food than work in factories. This exacerbates the existing talent shortage in China's manufacturing industry. The topic of young people's reluctance to enter factories has continued to garner attention. Recently, a social media personality with 610,000 followers, De Zhang mentioned that he often gets asked why young people are unwilling to work in factories. Is it just because of low wages and poor conditions? He analyzed that some factory jobs are seasonal, not permanent. There's a demand for workers for a while, but after that period, the need decreases, and layoffs occur. In other words, job instability is one of the reasons young people are reluctant to work in factories. He stated that young people would rather deliver food, parcels, or drive for ride-sharing services. Although these jobs are also considered losing face, compared to the conditions in factories, certain aspects of factory work are unacceptable to young people, making food delivery seem preferable. San Pai, a factory manager, notes that current economic struggles and cost-cutting efforts have led to limited overtime and an increase in unsold stock, adding to costs. He observes that young people prefer flexible jobs like freelance work, food delivery, or ride-sharing services, reflecting a broader trend of dissatisfaction with factory work. According to the 2023 Migrant Worker Monitoring Survey report released by the National Bureau of Statistics on April 30, there are a total of 297.53 million migrant workers nationwide, an increase of 1.91 million from the previous year, setting a new record. More than 81.82 million are employed in the manufacturing sector. Among them, young migrant workers aged 16 to 30 account for 16.6%, 84.2% have a high school education or lower, with those having junior high school education being the most numerous at 155.01 million. The low educational level also does not meet the increasingly high recruitment standards of factories. San Pai mentioned that without certain educational qualifications or professional skills, it is difficult for young migrant workers to enter good factories. He said that as factories become more automated, the skill requirements for workers also increase. This is one of the reasons why ordinary workers' wages cannot rise significantly. The past 3 years of the pandemic have posed great challenges to the real economy, with factories favoring a leaner structure, replacing humans with machines wherever possible. Studies have indicated that for every industrial robot added, 1.6 workers, and in some sectors, up to 3.3, lose their jobs. This is particularly evident in China, where both labor-intensive work and the development of artificial intelligence are advanced. According to the Manufacturing Talent Development Planning Guide released by the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, by 2025, the total demand for talent in 10 key sectors of the CCP's manufacturing industry will be 61.917 million, with a talent shortfall of 29.857 million. The challenges faced by the authorities are not just about recruiting assembly line workers. Manufacturers are also expressing concerns about the shortage of technical talents in the field of intelligent manufacturing. The education system has failed to produce the urgently needed talent for the market. Outbreak of avian influenza in Qinghai, China raises concerns. On May 18, official Chinese media reported an outbreak of the H5 subtype of avian influenza in Gangxia County in Gonghe County of Qinghai Province, reigniting concerns about human-to-human transmission of avian flu. The Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs of China issued a notice about the outbreak, finding 275 cases of H5 subtype avian influenza virus infections in dead seagulls and other wild birds. The report was provided by the China Animal Disease Control Center and confirmed by the National Avian Influenza Reference Laboratory. Since March this year, at least 46 dairy farms across 9 states in the USA have experienced outbreaks of H5N1 avian influenza, which investigations found were spread by migratory birds. The World Health Organization assesses that the risk to humans from this outbreak remains low. However, last week on May 11, the U.S. government announced an investment of nearly $200 million to prevent outbreaks of avian influenza. Successive earthquakes in Shaanxi and Xinjiang, noticeable tremors felt in Beijing. The China Earthquake Networks Center recorded that at 3:35 a.m. on the 19th, a magnitude 3.9 earthquake occurred in Yanggao County, Datong City, Shaanxi, with a depth of 13 kilometers. Minutes later, another earthquake hit the Kashgar region in Xinjiang. At 3:38 a.m., a magnitude 4.6 earthquake was detected in Yechun County, Kashgar, with a depth of 10 kilometers. Many netizens reported feeling strong tremors in Beijing, Ulankab, and other places, accompanied by very loud thunder in Beijing. One netizen described the thunder in Beijing as apocalyptic. Woken up at midnight by the loud thunder in Beijing, my phone's earthquake warning went off. Didn't feel the earthquake, but the thunder gave a sense of an apocalyptic end. Tesla plans to build data center in China to develop fully autonomous driving system. On May 17, Tesla was reported to be planning to establish a data center in mainland China, utilizing data from within China to develop the global application of its full self-driving (FSD) system. According to Reuters, two informed sources disclosed that Tesla has long planned to set up a data center in China to train algorithms needed for higher levels of autonomous driving. Recently, Tesla has been striving to obtain approval from Chinese regulatory authorities to transfer data generated by its electric vehicles in mainland China abroad for use in its FSD system. The report states that it is currently unclear whether Tesla will opt for the strategy of transferring data overseas and establishing a data center in China, or if it will develop a corresponding contingency plan. Tesla did not respond to requests for comment on this issue. Informed sources indicated that to establish a data center in China for developing FSD, Tesla would need to collaborate with a Chinese joint venture. Elon Musk had previously discussed the possibility of licensing Tesla's FSD system to Chinese electric vehicle manufacturers. Last month, Musk mentioned that Tesla was in discussions with a major car manufacturer about licensing FSD, but did not reveal the name of the manufacturer. The sources also mentioned that Tesla had negotiated with chip giant NVIDIA to purchase its graphics processing units, GPUs, for the development of the FSD system in the Chinese data center. However, due to the U.S. government's prohibition on NVIDIA and related companies selling their most advanced chips to China, hardware procurement poses a significant challenge for Tesla. The report also noted that since 2021, following the requirements of Chinese regulatory authorities, Tesla has stored all its data in Shanghai and has not transmitted any data back to the United States. On Friday, Reuters also reported that, according to a government document, Shanghai is drafting a document listing data that can be transferred overseas. The document indicates that the sectors of intelligent connected vehicles, mutual funds, and biomedicine are categorized as the first batch of general data, which can be transmitted without a security assessment. The plan stipulates a one-year pilot period. According to the document, companies registered in the Shanghai Free Trade Zone, Lingang New Area, where Tesla's Shanghai factory is located, can transfer data listed on the document overseas without further security assessment. On May 17, the Management Committee of the Shanghai Free Trade Zone Lingang New Area has confirmed the document and announced its immediate effect on its official website. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.